How powerful is Vermithor compared to Vhagar in House of the Dragon? Dragons are the ultimate symbols of power in Westeros, and few creatures strike fear like the massive dragons of House Targaryen. Among them, Vermithor and Vhagar are two of the most legendary, each with centuries of history, battles, and fire-breathing supremacy behind them. But fans often ask, just how powerful is Vermithor compared to Vhagar? Today, we're diving deep into the lore, the battles, and the sheer force of these two iconic dragons to understand what makes each of them so formidable, and why comparing them is more complex than it seems. Let's start with Vhagar, a dragon that has captured the imaginations of fans for generations. Vhagar is one of the three dragons that played a pivotal role in Aegon the Conqueror's invasion of Westeros. By the time of the Dance of the Dragons, she is over 150 years old, making her one of the oldest dragons in recorded Targaryen history. Her longevity has given her unmatched experience in combat. Vhagar has been through countless battles, witnessed the rise and fall of Targaryens, and survived duels with other dragons, earning a reputation for ferocity and resilience. Vhagar's size is also staggering. While she may not be as long as Vermithor, she is heavily muscled and immensely powerful. Her wings are vast, allowing her to generate terrifying bursts of speed despite her age. Her fire is potent, capable of melting steel and laying waste to armies from the skies. But perhaps her most dangerous attribute is her combat experience. Vhagar is not just a beast of destruction, she is a seasoned warrior. Every movement, every strike, and every burst of flame is informed by decades of survival, making her a tactical threat as much as a physical one. Now, let's look at Vermithor, often referred to as the Bronze Fury, for his distinctive bronze scales and unmatched temper. Vermithor is younger than Vhagar during the Dance of the Dragons, but in many ways, he represents raw, almost uncontrollable power. He is physically larger than Vhagar in terms of length and overall mass, which gives him incredible strength in flight and combat. When Vermithor lands a strike with his jaws or claws, the impact can be devastating, capable of leveling enemy fortifications or dragons alike. In addition to sheer size, Vermithor has a unique temperament. Unlike Vhagar, who combines experience with controlled ferocity, Vermithor is often described as volatile, aggressive, and near impossible to tame completely. His attacks are ferocious, sometimes bordering on reckless, but they are extremely effective against less experienced dragons. Vermithor's fire is particularly intense, and his endurance in battle is impressive. A younger dragon with Vermithor's size and aggression can often outpace older dragons, especially if they rely too heavily on experience rather than brute strength. So how do these dragons compare in direct combat? While the series does not show a one-on-one fight between Vhagar and Vermithor, the lore provides clues. Vhagar's experience and tactical mind make her a master of aerial duels. She can anticipate maneuvers, exploit weaknesses, and conserve energy for long fights, something Vermithor, with his raw aggression, might not always do. However, Vermithor's sheer size, strength, and firepower give him the advantage in overwhelming force. Against a dragon who relies purely on experience, Vermithor's raw offensive capability could tip the scales in his favor if he lands the first decisive strike. It's important to remember the human element in these dragons' power. A dragon's strength is magnified or limited by their rider. Vhagar's rider, Aemon Targaryen, is experienced, disciplined, and strategic, leveraging Vhagar's centuries of combat knowledge. Vermithor, often ridden by King Aegon II or other Targaryens during key conflicts, relies on a combination of the rider's skill and the dragon's natural aggression. A strategic rider can make Vhagar's age an asset, turning experience into a tactical advantage, while Vermithor's raw power can overwhelm even skilled opponents if unleashed correctly. Another aspect to consider is endurance and stamina. Vhagar, despite her age, has incredible stamina. She can sustain prolonged flights, battle multiple dragons in succession, and survive against fierce fire attacks. Vermithor, though incredibly strong, is younger and may expend more energy during sustained combat. His raw power demands more effort, and in a prolonged fight of attrition, Vhagar's experience and efficiency might allow her to outlast him, striking with calculated precision while Vermithor expends energy on overwhelming attacks. Let's also consider the historical battles of the Dance of the Dragons. Both Vhagar and Vermithor played crucial roles in aerial warfare, engaging in duels that reshaped the war. Vhagar's confrontations, such as her battle with Caraxes and other dragons, showcased her resilience, tactical foresight, and ability to take multiple opponents at once. Vermithor, on the other hand, often demonstrated dominance through intimidation and sheer destructive power, crushing enemies with brute force and terrifying smaller dragons. In practical terms, Vermithor might dominate an unseasoned opponent, while Vhagar thrives against strategic, experienced adversaries. Another key difference is psychological impact. Vhagar's legacy is legendary, older, tested, and feared across generations. Her reputation alone can intimidate opponents, sometimes giving her the edge before a battle even begins. Vermithor's presence is terrifying in a more immediate, visceral sense, a dragon so massive and aggressive that facing him in the skies is a terrifying, overwhelming experience. One is a symbol of fear honed over centuries, the other is an unstoppable force of nature, terrifying in raw, present power. In terms of firepower, both dragons are deadly, but the style differs. Vhagar's fire is controlled and tactical, capable of precise strikes that take out specific targets, including other dragons. Vermithor's fire is overwhelming, broad, and intense, a weapon of maximum destruction rather than precision. Against armies or fortifications, Vermithor might be superior. Against dragons with agility and experience, Vhagar's technique could give her the advantage. Ultimately, the question of who is more powerful depends on the context. In raw strength and destructive capability, Vermithor likely surpasses Vhagar. His size, aggression, and intensity make him nearly unstoppable in short bursts. In terms of experience, strategy, and longevity, Vhagar holds the advantage. Her ability to anticipate attacks, exploit weaknesses, and sustain combat over long periods makes her incredibly formidable. In a direct confrontation, the outcome could depend on the skill of the rider, the environment, and even timing. The lore also suggests that dragons, like their riders, have strengths and weaknesses that evolve over time. Vhagar's age gives her wisdom and experience but may reduce her reflexes slightly. Vermithor's youth gives him raw power but may make him overconfident or reckless. In a chaotic, high-stakes battle, both qualities can become strengths or liabilities, demonstrating that in Westeros, no power is absolute, only relative to circumstances and strategy. In conclusion, Vhagar and Vermithor are two of the most iconic dragons in Westerosi history, each terrifying in their own right. Vhagar is the master of experience, strategy, and endurance, a dragon whose centuries of combat knowledge make her a tactical nightmare for opponents. Vermithor is the embodiment of raw, unstoppable force, a dragon whose size, aggression, and firepower can overwhelm almost anything in his path. Comparing them is less about absolute power and more about context, the rider, the battlefield, and the stakes of the fight. Fans of House of the Dragon are fortunate to witness these incredible creatures in action, as their duels and battles are not just spectacles of fire and wings, but lessons in strategy, survival, and the complexities of dragon combat. Whether you favor Vhagar's legendary wisdom or Vermithor's raw ferocity, one thing is clear: dragons define the power of the Targaryens, and both of these beasts stand as ultimate symbols of the fearsome legacy of House Targaryen. In the end, comparing Vhagar to Vermithor reminds us why dragons are not just monsters in Westeros, they are forces of nature, symbols of legacy, and living weapons that shape history itself. And in the dance of the dragons, every roar, every burst of fire, and every aerial maneuver carries consequences not just for the riders, but for the fate of the Seven Kingdoms.